The Ultimate Gift and Its Challenges, an article by Hector Campbell. The greatest gift I can give to the other is the wisdom I earn in my arduous journey to self discovery. Self actualization, peace of mind, and presence of mind are the major keys to dispel the frequency of fear, anger, and uncertainty. What you see projected on the screen is explicitly orchestrated to entrap you into a mental maze beset by inflamed passions. The solutions to break free from the frequency of terror is a major obstacle that can be overcome in many ways. This is my unconventional path to transform and overcome myself. Quote, if you want to awaken all of humanity, then awaken all of yourself. If you want to eliminate the suffering in the world, then eliminate all that is dark and negative in yourself. Truly, the greatest gift you have to give is that of your own self-transformation. Lao Tzu. The challenge we face. The difficult road ahead will transcend generations and possibly alter the biological essence of being human. Underneath the pandemics, police brutality, and economic recessions is a new socio-economic model which will assimilate our private dreams, hopes, and aspirations for the greater good and safety of the world economy. The Fourth Industrial Revolution. According to the World Economic Forum, the Fourth Industrial Revolution will challenge not only what we do, but also who we are. It will affect our identity and all the issues associated with it. Our sense of privacy, our notions of ownership, our consumption patterns, the time we devote to work and leisure, and how we develop our careers, cultivate our skills, meet people, and nurture relationships. It is already changing our health and leading to a quantified self. And sooner than we think, it may lead to human augmentation. The list is endless because it is bound only by our imagination. Quote, according to the World Economic Forum. However, this brave new world unfolding today is one of the most impacting trends that is affecting our personal life. The very core of our being will be redefined in this new normal. It is in this context that we must decide for ourselves what it means to be human in a post-human age. Are we to react to every piece of bad news? Are we to invest our passions and time in perpetual unresolved conflict? At night, restlessly lay awake and reconsider our choices. We may feel a gnawing sensation in the pit of our stomach. The world around us is descending into never-ending conflict. Poverty and war, hopelessness, anger, and depression are palpable in the supermarket, on highways, and especially on social media. The prevalent attitude in conventional society is that the ends justify the means. This mindset gave rise to tyranny, corruption, and social disharmony. In other words, we are in some form complicit in the powering up the unresolved conflict we are currently faced with. Today, the freedom to be wrong, the freedom to be silly, and even the freedom to express our mind is targeted for re-education. The country has effectively become an open-air prison, and the prisoners have become the prison wardens. What are we living for? Are we living for the moment? Are we living for others? Are we living for ourselves? Life, freedom, and peace are not found through political revolution. They are created in the present moment through the creative power of the individual. The violence, coercion, and fraud perpetrated by government powerhouses purposefully co-opted normal human engagement for the betterment of the few. This top-down model of control can take many forms and disguises: capitalism, socialism, communism, but the end result is effectively the same: dependent population at the behest of wannabe dictators. The dehumanizing system of control clinically diagnoses individuals who think outside of the box as having an anti-authoritarian complex. Individual action that steps outside of the dichotomy of control, you versus me, and uses the power of compassion, empathy, and creativity is derided and ignored as idealistic, or worse, labeled as crazy. Individual freedom, personal responsibility, and compassionate action is targeted by the system because it creates alternatives that are outside of the dichotomy of control. The limited choice of political revolutions, self-abnegation, and the phantoms of ideology locks down the mind in a rigid model of reality. In this reality tunnel, our unconscious complexes disguise themselves as political enemies, sheeple, and ultimately alienate us from our own humanity. Moreover, the cultural context we are born into by default conditions us with a reality tunnel that relies on normalcy bias to perpetuate its self serving ideological existence. Concepts of good and evil and madness and sanity are gradually changed to fit into a master narrative of groups, societies, and especially the state. Quote, the perfect dictatorship will have the appearance of a democracy, but will basically be a prison without walls in which the prisoners will not even dream of escaping. It would essentially be a system of slavery, where through consumption and entertainment the slaves will love their servitude. Aldous Huxley. The darkness within. The narrative we create can lead us astray if it is not grounded in causal reality, virtue, and based in universal compassion and freedom. Nature's spontaneous order clues us into the underlying principle which creates conditions for life to flourish. Opposites are part of the energetic structure of the physical and of the psychic world, and without them, no existence of any kind could be established. Carl Jung, The Four Archetypes. Man, as a reflection of nature, is endowed with an internal dynamic of opposites, pleasure and pain, dreams versus nightmares, and most of all, life and death. This dialectic of opposites can create clarity of mind or entrap the mind in counterproductive pleasures. We all share an intimate secret with ourselves that out of fear we choose not to reveal to others. The unconscious mind observes all of our actions, feelings, and observes the internal monologue we carry inside our conscious mind. The unconscious mind is replete with archaic psychic forces, emotional complexes, in essence, a compendium of images, thought structures that precondition our conscious drives, instincts, and talents. This contradicting yet complementary dynamic is like a rapid flowing stream we must learn to navigate or be consumed by its roaring tides. As rational individuals, we tend to see the world in finite, linear, and reductive terms, which helps our limited reason comprehend our environment. Reason does not operate in a psychic vacuum, but rather it is like a lifeboat maneuvering through a maelstrom of primitive instincts and archaic memories. Quote, it has gradually become clear to me whatever great philosophy up till now has considered of, namely, the confession of its originator, and a species of involuntary and unconscious autobiography, and moreover the moral or immoral purpose in every philosophy has constituted the true vital germ out of which the entire plant has always grown. Friedrich Nietzsche, Beyond Good and Evil. At first glance, this relation to reason and our primitive mind may seem opposed to one another. However, experiences tells us otherwise. The lust for life powers the rational mind with inspirations and epiphanies. These peak experiences create new models of thought that effectively manifest the inherent abundance present in the unconscious, the perennial heritage of humanity. In this heightened level of awareness, we can extend the boundaries of consensus reality with the active process of self-actualization. Alternatively, if we become subsumed in groupthink and trapped by pleasure and programmed by our comfortable habits, we regress to reacting to life rather than creating life. If your heart is heavy with limitation, then you will not be free. With universal freedom, we find the wisdom to cooperate with our neighbors. With empathy, we find the courage to take personal responsibility and preserve peace. However, it is up to the individual's persistent action to produce meaningful, peaceful, and long-lasting results. There will be no universalized solution for everyone to adopt and forget their personal responsibility. There is no model of reality that will remove us from the consequences of our actions or lack thereof. If we are to find the solutions, we must find the self. In the present moment, the self finds the triumph of unlimited freedom and peace of mind. The self is born in a deep unconscious chasm of uncertainty and contradiction, freedom and destiny. When we come into being as children, a powerful curiosity drives us to question the world around us. The contemplation of life can produce both subtle joys or deep woes. The balance we create in this opposite dynamic is an art, and its science lab is the subjective experience. The individual creates his essence through self reflection, actions, and social interactions. The phantoms, cultural conditioning, plague our mind with distorted images of what it is to be a successful person or a responsible adult. The popular opinion underpins the master narrative of the state. Our objective is to serve the state, the economy, and the law. If we embrace our uniqueness regardless of popular opinion, then we are free in the now. If we opt out of the tax power control economy by creating a localized and circular economy, then we effectively create a freedom zone in which to live life to the fullest. If we choose to believe in ourselves, then we redeem humanity in a small but deeply significant way. Before approaching these long term creative solutions, one must forge a soul essence. In this maelstrom of conflict and confusion, the inner maze of the unconscious mind holds the key to empowering our being to transcend the conditions of violence, coercion, and fraud. Before we eliminate the political tyranny, we must liberate ourselves from our own self tyranny. Quote, the great events of world history are at bottom profoundly unimportant. In the last analysis, the essential thing is the life of the individual. This alone makes history. Here alone do the great transformations first take place. And the whole future, the whole history of the world, ultimately springs as a gigantic summation from these hidden sources in individuals. Carl Jung. How do you know when you're on the right track? Your vision will become lucid, your skin will tingle, and a surge of energy will rise from the center of your being to the top of your head. This is your intuition speaking. Follow it. Self realization is self actualization. Self actualization, according to Maslow, represents a growth of an individual toward fulfillment of the highest needs, those for meaning in life in particular. Quote, musicians must make music, artists must paint, poets must write if they are to be ultimately at peace with themselves. What human beings can be, they must be. They must be true to their own nature. This need we may call self-actualization. Abraham Maslow. The role we play in life can either be our creation or foisted upon us by social pressure. Quote, social pressure may cause people to change their picture of reality. Those who resist it can be emotionally upset. Fitting in feels good, even at the expense of your otherwise good senses, and we may pay an emotional price for the courage of our convictions. Studies have shown that individuals will voluntarily distort their perception of reality to conform with the crowd, their family, and their group of friends. To go against the group can create emotional discomfort, which can lead to stress. Stress in itself is not a problem, but rather an obstacle that can help the body and mind adapt to challenging environments and situations. However, prolonged exposure to stress, fear, and violent imagery can shrink our brain. Some rather lose their self in the crowd than experience the short-lasting discomfort of being authentic. The challenge in becoming an authentic, individuated self is to persevere in the presence of obstacles. To be truly free means preserving our passions regardless of material success or social pressure. My dear fellow, who will let you? That's not the point. The point is who will stop me. Ayn Rand, The Fountainhead. A group is an abstraction which exists mostly in the collective minds of people who sublimate their independent thought for groupthink. The only experience we can fully understand is our own. In the lens of social groupings, we experience the crowd indirectly through our unconscious psychological complexes. Depending on the cultural context, groups can manifest the best and worst in human beings. However, if we do not individuate our being from groupthink, the self will not ascend to higher levels of awareness. The orchestrated system of control relies on our personal detachment and obsession with fear to subdue our resolve to create a better world. The illusion we assume to be true is that through political revolution, peace, prosperity, and freedom will become reality. The never-ending negative headlines turn our attention away from our passions. When we react to within the dichotomy of fear and control, we burn out our passions fighting against phantoms. As our convictions wane, so does our vision for a better world. To break free of this hamster wheel, the individual must look within and reclaim their peace of mind through self-exploration. If we do not create freedom in the here and now, then we will never be free.